So wow moments then, buddy. Right, I've had loads. I've had them within the martial arts. I've trained with and chatted with some of the biggest names in the sport. And also on the film and TV side, I've had some great ones. And sometimes I've had experiences that sort of transcend both. I've trained with Benny the Jet Akides on 2 occasions, which was spectacular. Cool. So for those of you that don't know, just absolute legend, Google him. Just one of the greatest kickboxers, arguably the greatest kickboxer of all time still. You know, pound for pound, just wow. And he was also the guy that fought Jackie Chan at the end of Wheels and Meals and Dragons Forever, which are 2 of the greatest on-screen fights ever to this day again. So that was cool. And not just meeting him and training with him, but getting to have a really good chat with him, you know. Must have chatted for half an hour. You know, it was great. And Bill Wallace was the other one, also an on-screen foe of Jackie Chan and also Chuck Norris. And a hilarious guy in real life. But again, the original middleweight kickboxing champion only had the use of one leg, which I'm finding quite inspirational at the minute, staring a hip operation in the face in the next 3 years. So I just had to work on that left leg. I'll be okay. But seriously, he was a massive influence on my real life fighting with the lead leg and everything. I studied him when I was a kid for my actual competitive kickboxing. And then obviously he was in the movies, fought Jackie Chan at the end of Protector, fought Chuck Norris at the end of The Force of One. And there was this one time I got to train with him in Leeds at my friend Paul Lynch's gym, Leeds Martial Arts. And we trained, and in a 2-hour seminar, and bear in mind, I've been training quarter of a century then, he showed me 3 things that were new, which is quite impressive when you've got nearly 3 decades in a sport. And it was those wow moments where it wasn't really what he was showing was new. But this is what I love, again, coming back to systems and instructors. Everyone has their own personal interpretation of that universal truth, as it were. And that is what I love. And if you're talking about systems and exponents of quality, go and train with as many as you can, because you'll get these eureka moments where, like with Bill Wallace, you go into a gym and the guy's showing you something that you've been, showing you a technique that you've been doing and working successfully in live situations, say, for 15, 20 years. And then he just shows it from a different angle. His emphasis, his personal emphasis, his personality, you know, basically, these are the points that he focuses on. You might be focused on this aspect. He's focused on this aspect. And it's like he shines. It's almost like you're learning a new technique. It's like, it's the same thing you've been doing for 20 years, but it's like, I never thought of using that like that, or applying it like that, or explaining it like that. Oh, that's genius, you know. And then you really get those, that's where you grow. I love that. So yeah, there was that aspect. And then afterwards I got to have a burger and a beer with him, and we're having a laugh. And it was crazy because that was like one of those like, fuck me moments. Because this is the guy that I've like watched, modeled myself on, you know, as a fighter and as a kid, as a young kid. And then watched in the movies. And, you know, I think we've talked about this before, but I live in a small town, northwest of England, and I'm 10 years older than you. So it was a very different world, and everything seemed so far away, you know, movies, TV, all of that kind of world, that sort of hyper real world. It just seemed unreachable. Today, I think the world seems quite a lot closer with social media and everything else like that. Don't get me wrong, there's still that aspect to it, but I think it's more accessible and it seems more attainable than it did, you know, 30 years ago. So he really was like this larger than life figure. And I'm sat there having a burger and a beer with him and just chatting shit. I had a t-shirt on, which had Chuck Norris dressed as Walker Texas Ranger and Mr. T from the A-Team, and a banner on Clash of the Titans. And he was absolutely howling at that. He said, that is amazing. And I said, you know, well, I thought you had him in a Force of One. He goes, well, you know, they paid me to lose the fight, you know. And then he's going, the thing I never understood about that film, he goes, I'm running away from Chuck at the end of the movie with like a bag, like $1 million worth of cocaine in it. He goes, surely I just keep running, yeah? He goes, but no. He goes, I turn and I throw the bag at him. Yeah? He goes, not even quick toot before we get into it, you know? I mean, nothing. I just throw the $1 million of cocaine in his face, okay? And, so, you know, and I'm realizing I'm sat there having this incredibly down-to-earth conversation with a guy that's like taking the mick out of himself. He's an absolute legend. And it was just so surreal. And what a great day, both in terms of physical training and progressing as a martial artist. I'm just sort of personal bucket list goals ticked. So there's one of my stories. Go on. You must have a few.
So wow moments. Probably the first one was Penny Dreadful. The first one was actually Penny Dreadful when I was looking at James Bond, Timothy Dalton. I was like, that's James Bond.
Yeah.
So like you said, coming from somewhere,
And,
small.
and Baron Green from Flash Gordon. Let's not forget that. That's so badass. Go on.
So like, and Wes Studi, Mogwai.
Yeah.
So I was just standing there looking at James Bond, and that, coming from a small, well, not from a small city like Dublin's a big city, but from a small country and Hollywood so far away and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, wow, that's James Bond. He's just a normal dude. He's right there. So that was the first kind of wow moment. But Penny Dreadful also went to the Sierra Nevada mountains in Spain, and that's where they shot like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and a lot of those classic westerns. And I managed to get brought out there to do some cowboy scenes. So I'm in the desert, in the mountains, and I'm riding a horse. I'm dressed as a cowboy, and I'm in the place where they filmed all those classic westerns. That was a massive wow moment for me. It was really, really epic. And some of the photographs of it are they don't even look real. It's an amazing place. And then on Vikings, I met Adam
Copeland. Adam Copeland. Edge from WWE, yeah?
Adam Copeland. Such a nice guy. But I remember watching wrestling, and I watched that whole story. I remember watching him, and I knew all about who he was getting on with, who his friends were in the wrestling world, and I loved it. And there I was sitting there chatting. We were actually getting on a boat in a tank, getting absolutely hammered by fake waves, and it was just so cool. And that was another wow moment to be standing there. That's Edge. And when I left work, and I was on the phone to everyone. Guess who I met today? They were like, "Oh, you Edge." And in fairness, most of the lads were like, "Yeah, that's so cool." Some of the girls were like, "Who?" Never mind.
I'll tell you what, mate. Firstly, you want to check out the interview I've done with Dave Rainey. He's one of the top British professional wrestlers that's worked angles with a lot of the guys from WWE and WCW and all the stuff over the years. He did an angle with Goldust. He did an angle with Jeff Jarrett, with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in his corner, for God's sake, right? So if you like your wrestling, as I do, that's an interview with, or a series of interviews. The first bit's out now. The rest will be coming out. He's worth having a look at. But I mean, I'm a huge fan, and just about all the lads that I've spoken to in the whether it's in the worlds of legitimate combat sport or whether it's in the worlds of stunt performance, like 90% of them are massive WWE fans, myself included. You know what I mean? And the WWE was definitely part of what I referred to earlier as that hyper real scene. So whether it was the movies or the big rock stars and rock shows of the day, or high level professional sport, or WWE, it was all kind of part and parcel, and it all seemed miles away, like interstellar. So yeah, I forgot to mention, when I said about training with Benny Akides, I actually brought him to my hometown to do a seminar, right? Because that was like a little personal in-joke to myself, because having grown up in this place, this very, very claustrophobic small town, very small-minded at times, and having sort of gone through all that, that was kind of like my little in-joke to myself, like, oh, I shall just bring the mountain to me, and it was good. That was a great experience. But and also on Penny Dreadful, I actually got to work a couple of little fight scenes with Timothy Dalton, with James Bond. In the end scene, it's only like a 2-second shot, right? But it's cool. And basically, Timothy Dalton's character, Sir Malcolm, I'm one of the vampires in Dracula's lair at the end, and he's there shooting them all, and he points his gun at me, click, and he runs out of bullets, and I'm like, ah, and he gets his pistol, crack, and just like breaks me out, spins me off screen. 2-second shot, but it looked cool. But that was a wow moment, because not only did I get to do, it's like, what did you do this morning? Well, I got killed by James Bond, But on top of that, you had the director was actually in on that one, John Logan, Last Samurai, and gosh, so epic, like major, like director, like incredible list of accolades. And then you had Pete Miles, he was head of stunts, and Ray Nick, our good friend, he was the fight coordinator, and Peter Dillon, who I've done an interview with, who's a very experienced stuntman as well. And they were, even the director, like went, oh wow, that's excellent. And they were all talking about this shot that I'd done. And it's like I'm getting props from, and then Timothy Dalton comes over and he goes, oh, thank you very much. He goes, that was superb, and shakes my hand. And I'm like, no problems, mate. Thank you. He goes, oh no, you did the move, mate. He said, brilliant. Because he was such a nice guy as well. So that was another wow moment that you've reminded me of me personally. I mean, yeah, I think being involved with in fight scenes with James Bond and Mogwai is pretty much up there on the bucket list. I mean, I have been killed on screen by some pretty impressive names, really. I mean, got the Eddie Hall documentary coming out in October, and there's a little scene in that where we pay homage to Terminator 2, and Eddie breaks my hand and throws me through a table and stuff like that. So yeah, I've had on-screen fights with the world's strongest man, James Bond, and Mogwai from Last of the Mohicans. That's a pretty badass list. But I'll start for myself. What I would love to do is work on anything with Jackie Chan. Even if it was like just get hit once and kill one, like 2-second shot with Jackie Chan, that'd be like my life vindicated and made. Or just to meet a guy. Or if I could have worked on anything past, present, or future, pretty much any John Carpenter film, but especially Big Trouble in Little China, because it's just the greatest thing ever made. Well, no, there's no argument about it. It's just the greatest thing ever made. So I've got to say, and it goes without saying, like, probably a bit late for this now, but you never know. They're still doing series of The Mandalorian, spin-off films, but it'd be cool to work on something Star Wars related, because again, that was like another love of mine since I was 5 years old. And my son is Star Wars mad again, and has been since he was about 3. So it would be very cool to work on something Star Wars related. So something with Jackie Chan, something Star Wars related, anything by John Carpenter. That would be my past, present, future sort of bucket list if I could pick anything. What about yourself? No holds barred. Is there a certain series or a certain movie, past, present, or future, that you would have loved to have been a part of, or would love to be a part of? Or is there something, or would you like to take a role similar to something? Go. What would you love to do?
Quite similar, actually, in the Jackie Chan thing. Like, I grew up watching those movies. Like, I think the first one I ever saw was Rumble in the Bronx. That really, I opened my eyes. Like, Jackie Chan is a wizard. He is a real life ninja. I need to find out more. And I would absolutely say, I'd like any job with Jackie Chan would be awesome. But also the era of, I think we spoke about this before, it was the Van Damme era of like Bloodsport and the Quest and Kickboxer. Like that era of like late 80s martial arts movies, they were just the best. Just the best. So I would love to have been involved in some of those. And going forward, I would love to work on something with Clint Eastwood as the director. Apparently, he's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, that would be badass, because he's a pretty cool guy, isn't he? He just comes across like just super cool, Yeah. Like, yeah, the epitome of. That would be cool. What was I going to say now? Those 8, because I told you that you didn't know, but Winston Ellis, who was dreadful, he is the African fighter in The Quest with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And and he also has an on-screen fight with Jet Li in Black Mask, which is a Hong Kong cinema classic. It's one of my favourite. It's one of the best Jet Li films. Best ever in my. Well, again, I say in my opinion, but it is the best ever. Is Fist of Legend. It is the best. It's the best Jet Li film. It's one of the best films ever. But Black Mask was up there, and Winston gets a decent little on-screen scrap, and if I remember rightly, he ends up getting impaled on one of those. Oh man, I've forgotten it again. What are they called? Those
rebar.
What?
Rebar.
Yeah, that they use in the buildings. Yeah, he gets impaled on rebar or something. If I remember, he's having a rooftop fight with him. But that's cool. So yeah, there you go. Little interesting aside for you. because he had
Very cool.
quite a career in Hong Kong, Winston, in
Yeah.
a lot of those movies. But that was my formative years. The first ever martial arts, like Clash of the Titans event I went to, number 5, you had Vincent Lin there, who was in Operation Condor, Jackie Chan. And you had Lauren Avdon from King of the Kickboxers and No Retreat, No Surrender 2 and 3. And to this day, I have a massive poster, and I mean it's like 5 foot square, framed in my room, of Karate Tiger 2, which is the European release name for No Retreat, No Surrender 2, as signed by Lauren Avdon. And then this was, again, a bit of a wow moment in itself, because I went and I watched Clash of the Titans 5 at like 13 years old. I was blown away. I saw what would become my future instructor, Joe Tierney, compete for the first time, and he blew me away with his skill and aggression and everything. It was just a great night. And the main event was Alfie Lewis and Nathan, the Megatron Lewis, who is now doing stunt work and acting like ourselves, whom I have an excellent interview with that will be released down the line. It's kind of crazy the way it all cyclical and all around. But I mean, fast forward 5 years, and I was fighting on the Clash of the Titans.
Cool.
And I had a couple of really good showings. I fought on 2. I can't remember the number. I think it was Clash 10 and Clash 13 or something like that, or 14. But on one of them, Tong Po, Michael Kesey, was the special guest. So that's kind of cool. So there's been a lot of those little moments. I mean, in regards to Jackie Chan, I said I've trained with and met Bill Wallace, trained with and met Benny Akides, and I trained Julian Sands in boxing for a BBC drama called The Village.
Cool.
And Julian Sands, amongst other people, he was like the Warlock in the 80s, if you remember the cult horror, right? And boxing Helena, and he did some like Oscar-worthy stuff for like The Killing Fields and whatnot. But more recently, he was in Banshee, which is a wicked series, which is pretty cool. And he martial arts connections now. Blood and Bone with Michael Jai White, one of the bad guys in that, and the Jackie Chan connection. He is the bad guy at the end of the Medallion with Jackie Chan. He's the main bad guy, naked or whatever it is. So it's like, as far as Jackie Chan, and then obviously we had half of Jackie Chan's stunt team on Into the Badlands as well, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
It's like, it just feels like so close, but I've never met the guy, you know what I mean? But maybe it can happen. I've got a few more years before I need to take that long walk to the glue factory. So I'm trying to get enough out of myself in the next few years, and you never know. But yeah, and I think John Carpenter's still making the odd movie, isn't he? I did even hear, I've heard on the grapevine that they are doing a sequel to Big Trouble in Little China, allegedly starring The Rock, who is possibly the only guy that could pull that off. And
starring The Rock and you, I hope.
And me, yeah, damn right. You need a sidekick, yeah? He had his, definitely. I'm up for that. Oh, the other thing that would just be absolutely awesome is, have you seen Cobra Kai?
Yeah.
Oh, mate, that would be epic. I would probably go and do that. I don't know about saying that in public. They might hold me to it. Nearly said, but like, I like money. It helps. I'm not a fan, but it calms my nerves. But I mean, something like that would be badass. Anything to do with the Karate Kid franchise, legendary.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah. All right, then. Wrapping up then. Lockdown permitting, do you have any plans or aspirations for the future?
I'm working on a couple of movies here at the moment. I'm actually back to work next week, which is great. And hopefully all things going well, you know, the industry will be back and won't have to stop again. Fingers crossed. So a couple of movies here. I'm waiting on I was actually I moved to London earlier this year. And then when lockdown happened, I came home. So I am supposed to be going back to work on a big project in the UK, maybe September, hopefully. And that'll go for about 9 months. That's going to be, for the next year, I'm kind of tied up with a job, which is great, you know. But that's all dependent on how things go for the rest of the world too, you know.
Absolutely. I wish you all the best with that, Dave. And if you do end up over in London, you got to give us a call, because it's a couple of hours train ride away. So I'll pop, I'll come down and see you, or you come up here and see me and do some training and what have you. And yeah, we will definitely hook up if you are over on this side of the pond for a bit.
Absolutely.
I really, really hope that I get the chance to come over to Ireland and work on anything again with the same crew, because I'm not just saying this, but like all the Irish stunt lads and ladies are absolutely awesome. Always felt so at home over there, and not just the stunt guys, the girls in hair and makeup and costume, awesome. And it was kind of pretty much the same crew, or largely the same crew on both Penny Dreadful and Into the Badlands. So yeah, it's always a good experience to work over there with you lot. And if not, I'm going to come over there and just
come for a beer.
Damn right, a beer or 10, you know.
Yeah. Well, I hope that Pete Miles comes back with Ray for a job. You know, that'd be great. I'd love to work with that crew again. Pete Miles is an absolute legend, and Ray, I couldn't believe Ray when I met Ray on Penny Dreadful, and I saw him. I was like, "You what? He's 60, is he?"
60, and the man drinks
like he's 35.
The man drinks Ray Nick's, okay, which is his own cocktail. It's basically like a pint of vodka with ice and like a splash of Red Bull. If you look on my Instagram, there is an instructional as to how to make a proper Ray Nick. If it just tastes like fractionally sweetened petrol, you've got that right. But yeah, he'll down a couple of Ray Nicks of a night, and then he gets up and he's bouncing around on set, like, you know, and he's sitting, and you're like, what? How? I think he might be a Highlander, to be honest, man, because he's like, he seems to be possibly immortal. I think
he's mesmerizing when he moves. You're like, there's no way you're 60. You're like 30 at the honest. He's like lightning.
Yeah, he's sharp. I mean, Ray, again, very legitimate background in martial art and boxing. Was an undefeated ABA champion, Northwest champion in his younger days. So yeah, Ray has some serious
legit.
Totally
legit.
Too legit to quit. No, you know, Ray's been doing great recently, and I wish him all the best. And I actually have, we've got a bit of a passion project going on. With obviously the idea is me and him are going to have an epic battle against each other, because we fought each other on a music video, and it was really cool. But then the whole thing got scrapped. We got paid in full for it, but they canned it, so we can't even use the footage in showreel. The whole thing got, and so it sucked. But that's the only time we've had an on-screen fight, and we were like, oh no, fuck no. You know, I've got like 3 years left. Isn't that crazy as well? Ray's 60 and he's probably going to outlast me in terms of career, because I'm the one that's going to have to get the hip, you know, chopped, and there you go.
Yeah.
So, you know, no, while I've still got a hip and I can still kick and do my thing, for posterity, and because, you know, we only live once, we've got a little bit of a project with some other friends of ours. When I say friends, though, you've got to bear in mind my friends, or our friends in this case, are all like industry professionals, so it's going to be badass. So I'm going to do a little short film, and me and Ray are going to have an epic on-screen fight, which is just something I can commit to film and show the kids and the grandkids when they're a bit older, and you know. So that's like the only thing we've got, which is, you know, sort of definitely happening. And again, we've got another. These are always great because it's the way I sort of keep my crew sharp. We do music videos for like smaller bands, like independent bands, or bands that are signed and that are commercial, but that don't have a lot of money. So this is where our guys get the experience and, you know, the discipline of being on a set and this, that, and the other. Yeah. But it's very controlled, and it's Ray has jumped in on just about every single one of those. Actually, I think a couple I've done on my own, but the vast majority it's been me and Ray. And we run the seminars, the fight choreography seminars, and then the guys that are interested in progressing, it's a great way of getting them on film, getting them a bit for the show reel, giving them that experience, and introducing them to sort of screen combat. Because I always feel that it's much better to be working to something with a means to an end. So even if it is a small commercial release that's only going to get, I don't know, 5,000-10,000 hits on YouTube, that's still, you know, it's a significant kind of a, you know, you're working on a project with a means to an end. It just gives you that much more focus, and I think that's a better way of doing it. So yeah, we've got one of those.
As long as you're
to get back to it.
Same, man. So I'm dying to get back to work. I'm looking forward to using my brain again. I'm looking forward to actually, problem solving, come up with stuff, getting creative, all those kinds of things, But like you said, it doesn't matter what the production is or what the job is. If you're doing something that you really enjoy, it's not necessarily going, oh, it's, it might only be this many people see or this many. As long as you're doing what you want to do and makes you happy, and other people, you're doing it so other people can, get something out of it, and that's all that matters. Like a friend of mine, his name's Ian Adams. He wrote a couple of films, and all of us together, we all just kind of met up in our free time, and we've made 2 feature films in the last kind of 4 years. The first one took us 18 months to make. It's called The Lads. You might want to check it out. It's on YouTube. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But the budget was like €160 or something like that. And then the second one had a bit of a bigger budget, but that was €250. But they've both got over a million views on YouTube. And it wasn't, we weren't making them like because they were going to be hits. We just wanted to make film. Ian had this vision. I want to make a movie. I want to put it on the cinema. And we were like, yeah, all right. And then sure enough, he did, because that's his thing. He wants to write movies and direct. And we're all crafting, we're all learning, we're all, chipping in from different aspects and different departments. And we all just did it for the love of making film, not necessarily because we were going to get anything from it, in terms of monetary gain.
No, mate. At the end of the day, the same thing with my martial arts career. It's like when you introduce money to anything, there is always going to be an element of work that comes in there, and it can take the joy out of it a little bit, can take the shine off it a bit on days. When you're dancing to the beat of somebody else's drum, it's not on your terms, there's an element of work there. That's what being a professional is about. It's going out there and giving it 110%, whether you feel like it or not. But it's great. Like with my martial arts, some of my favorite fights are the ones I've done for charity, because it's like, take the money out of the equation, just get in there and do it again for the love of it. And better than that, for a really good cause. And it really sort of sparks my enthusiasm back. I think that's so important, that whatever you're doing, if you do something that you love professionally, every now and then, just do a passion project or do something for charity, and just take the damn money and the business out of the equation and just do it at a high level again, but purely for the love of it. I think that's really important. The creativity, the personal aspect, again, bring that back. And the other thing I would say is that you need to have something else to go to. So something that you love just as much, but that is never anything to do with money at all, nothing at all. So I know that you play the guitar as I do. So my music is my go-to, whether it's going to gigs or listening to music or playing the guitar, that's my thing. So just to finish off a little bit, mate, just tell us a little bit about your guitar stylings.
I'm the same. The guitar is the only thing, like, the job that I do kind of lends itself to having it's a job, but it's also a lifestyle, because when you go to work, it's what you've done outside work that gets you the job, and you're doing things that you trained outside work on the job. So that's why I drive a motorcycle. That's why I know how to ride a horse. That's why I scuba dive, I rock climb, gymnastics, trampoline, and all those things is because of work. So even if it's recreational, it's still somehow related to work. And my guitar is the only thing that is like just the happy place. It has nothing to do with anything else. It's just it's the zen area of my life where it's just the music. I love going to music festivals. I love going to gigs. I love playing the guitar. My dad was a massive music influence from a young age. Playing things like Jimi Hendrix, Thin Lizzy, Rory Gallagher, Eric Clapton, all those kinds of influences from a young age. And then, as I said earlier on, I was terrible at sports. I was terrible at all things, really. And my mom was trying to get me to play the guitar, and I just didn't want to be terrible at something else. So I said no. And eventually I saw a couple of my friends play. They just jammed one night. They moved in together and they all played the guitar, and they ended up just in one room in their house farm, and then they played this like a little gig. And it was the best gig I was ever at. I'd never seen people who'd never played before play music that didn't exist. It was the first time I was in a room where people were making music, and I was like, all right, well, I want a piece of this. Whatever's happening here, I want in. How do I get some of that? So I went out and bought a guitar the next week, and that was about 3 years ago. So I absolutely love it.
Oh, that's awesome. And yeah, you got to have that place, whatever that place is for you. but something that's not about money, that's not about forward motion or professional or personal development. No, just personal development. Yeah,
Yeah.
just you, just for the love of it and nothing else. Like no pressure, and that's an important thing. And yeah, very much. You know, I mean, I played in bands when I was in my teens. I'm a competent guitarist, but I'm trying to get more deeply into it now, and like learn the theory and improve my techniques. And I've interviewed some extremely talented musicians on this as well. So there's some interviews to check out. But I mean, I'm quite lucky that I've got some like super talented musical friends that will give me the odd tip here and there, or I'll try it like this or that. That's always cool. And it's not something that I'm avidly pursuing, because that's the whole point. It's just like every now and then I like to pick my guitar up and jam to my records, have a beer. And when I do, like I say, make that long walk to the glue factory, I'm going to have a handful more competitive bouts. That's my plan. I mean, who knows? I might have one and it might be like, okay, I'm done. I might have 3 and then have 3 more. I mean, I've had probably more retirement bouts than most people have had career bouts, right?
Retirements and comebacks.
I think it's like there's me and the Undertaker from WWE are about tied on that, right? But seriously, I'm going to do those handful more bouts. I'm going to do as much on the film TV stuff as possible in the next 3 years. Like I said, got the passion projects and the music video lined up. Always applying for, proper paid work professionally as well. And I will get what I can for the next 3 years. And then when I'm going to take a step back from the physical side, I'm always going to teach to an extent. And I will always sort of train and, in whatever manner I can. There'll still be a lot I can do. But I'll be taking a step right off there. And that's when maybe I'll look at getting back into a bar band again. And not going to like go and try and be a rock star at 50 or anything like that. I don't care. But I'd love to get back to do some gigs and having a jam with my mates, but like going down and playing some local gigs in the pubs or something. That'd be cool. That's maybe what half my life has got. So, dude, it's been amazing talking to you again, and I'm sure we will do this again. If you come over to this side, to London, let me know. We'll train and we'll jam as well. Bring your guitar.
I will bring the guitars, absolutely.
So, in that case, Dave, I think this is a decent place to wrap up. Stop recording. Don't jump off straight away. But Dave Boyle, thank you very much for your time. Cheers.
Thanks, John. Good luck.